Good morning, everyone. So, for today, our topic is presentation skills or presentation strategies. So, I'll switch on the presentation for presentation strategies. So, presentation strategies. This is a part of unit number 3 and a very important portion. So, today, we'll have our opening remarks in a very different way. I have a question for all of you. What is the first thing that you can think of when you hear the word presentation? Let me give an example over here. How or what sort of answers am I searching for? Let's say when I hear the word apple, for me, the first thing that I would think of would be a fruit. Other things that you can think of could be a brand or a particular product of a particular brand. Similarly, when you hear the word presentation, what do you think? Or what words come to your mind? You can type your answers in the chat box. What words come to your mind when you listen to the word presentation? Okay, addressing a group of people, demonstrate or present something, PPTs. What else? Only one third of the people answering. Okay. A leader who leads the presentation. Fine. So I'm lucky to have a group of audience who knows a lot about the presentation. You've made my work easier, right? Whatever you have told builds around what we are going to learn today or what we are going to be brushed up today. So there's an old Chinese proverb which says, "What I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. And what I do, I understand." Presentations are actually involvement of the speaker as well as the audience. Moreover, presentations add an extra charm to your personality, and they would also add up a little more magical charm to what ideas you have. Presentations are also a way to explain a lot, maximum into minimum, right? So, presentation is an important aspect not only of an individual but also of an organization. Now, let's see, there are two definitions that we have. You can see one of the definition is for presentation and the other one says presentation skill. So presentation means it's the process of showing and explaining the content of a topic to an audience. Very simple. You demonstrate, you display, you talk about something. What is the presentation skill? The ability to present a structured, prepared, speech based means of communicating information, ideas, or arguments to a group of interested people in order to inform or persuade them. See, here you can see uh, the highlights of what we have been learning over time about workplace scenarios and organizations, things that are structured, things that are prepared beforehand. And it is now because we have entered unit 3. Unit 3 is all about technical communication. Till now, what we were doing was technical writing. Now we have progressed to technical communication, communicating technically. Right? That's why a speech based means of communicating. And see, a group of interested people. So, presentation also, you not do it for everyone, you will be doing it for a specific audience, right? So, this is also a workplace or a organizational environment kind of a thing when we are defining presentation. Now, what is the purpose of presentation? There are different purposes. So, purpose 1 and 2, we are doing it right now. Or you have been practicing purpose 1 and 2 along with your teachers and professors of different subjects. That is to inform and to instruct. So we are informing you about the different things related to a particular subject. We are making presentation, right? Then the other purposes of presentation are to entertain, to inspire or motivate, to activate and stimulate, and to persuade or to convince. Now, why is the purpose important? Every time when we have been dealing with any documentation, whether oral or written, related to organization or workplace scenarios, we have always discussed a lot about the why part. Why? What is the purpose? What is the objective? Why do we need to know the objective? So, in case of a presentation, why is an objective required? Let's say we'll learn through an example. Let's say the purpose is to provide information or analyze a situation. When the purpose is to provide information or analyze the situation, the interaction with the audience becomes minimum. That is why I give you the example of the lectures and the lab sessions that we have. If you recollect the lab sessions and lecture sessions of many subjects that you have taken, they would be in the 60 minutes, they would be out of 60 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes time spared for the audience. By audience, here we mean the students. So, what happens is the interaction with the audience is limited. Out of 60 minutes, it's just less than 1/3 of the time. Right? Mathematically speaking, if you are interested in mathematics. So 1/3 of the time that you have goes to the student, 2/3 goes to the teacher or the presenter in this case. Now, what if the purpose of the presentation is persuading the audience? You have to convince the audience. You cannot have one way communication when you are convincing. What do you have to do then? You have to give audience the more time to talk. So how do things work when you have to persuade somebody? You first give little information, background knowledge, facts, figures, etc. And what do you do then? You would then invite the audience to contribute in the form of either their suggestions, their observations, or their recommendations. If you are presenting the audience with some problem and you need a solution, then you'll invite solutions from the audience. Right? In that case, as compared to, please remember we'll be comparing it, right? So as compared to the presentation where we need to inform the audience, in comparison to that, when we have to convince or persuade the audience, the amount of time that we give to the audience comparatively increases. Remember, it does not mean that the speaker does not say anything or the speaker's role becomes less. The speaker's role is still there, but comparing it with, when you make it a comparison with the presentations where you have to inform and the presentations where you have to persuade, in those cases, when you have to persuade somebody, the audience involvement and interaction increases. And that is why we need to know the purpose. The purpose is like the foundation of a building. Wrong foundation, the building collapses. Correct foundation, the building stands strong. Right? So, knowing the purpose of the presentation is important because it lays the foundation to build the presentation upon. Moreover, when the amount or time period of interaction with the audience is less, things work a little smoothly. Smoothly in the sense things start on time, things end on time, working out of the things happens better. Now, in case when you have to interact with the audience, there might be many problems. You might have planned that, I want to inform them 25 minutes, but once you start interaction with the audience, that planning of yours shifts its places. Now, as a presenter, as a good presenter, you should be flexible enough to adjust. You cannot stick, okay, I wanted to speak 25 minutes, now you cannot speak. You have to adjust, you have to tailor. Remember, wherever we are working on written documents or on oral communication in a workplace scenario, things might not go as you have planned it. You, as a good speaker, good presenter, good narrator, good writer, or good documenter, the one who documents, writes written documents, you should be flexible enough to adjust to the unexpected things that come along the way, unexpected reactions, unexpected solutions, and new inputs. You cannot be rigid, you have to be flexible. That does not mean you change your opinion. You can say, yes, your ideas are welcomed, but we need to look at the perspectives that we are throwing over here. Let's say some students or some teachers or many of the platforms on social media are discussing, how can some student who don't even learn in the classroom, how can they learn online? That's a recent debate that goes on. Okay, your idea is welcome, but why can't we give it a try? If I'm a good presenter and somebody tells me something like this, I don't expect somebody to tell me that, uh, are you sure your students are learning? Are you sure they don't just switch on their mics and go somewhere else, do some other work? I would say I am not 100% sure about it, but maybe that's why I have kept a few reconnecting questions. I have quizzes to keep them engaged, and I try to make my PPT look nice. That's a trial error thing which I'm doing for the first time. Right? So as a presenter, you should be flexible enough. You should not divert from your opinions. Remember, you cannot switch your opinions throughout the presentation. Your opinion stays still. It is the constant, right? The opinions that the audience gives, they are called the variables. They will be variating. You can say, yes, you might be correct, but I don't know. For me, what I think, because the student is attempting the quiz, I think they are attending the lecture. They are not scoring less than 3 or 4. Most of them score 4 and 5. So you cannot, the quiz is based on what I teach. So when somebody is scoring a 4 and 5, it means the person is attending. You have your own reasons for it, but you must be flexible enough to accept the new ideas that come in. If somebody says, madam, instead of a Google quiz, can't you have or ask them to, you know uh, send a short video, something like that, change the assignment, we can say, let's look into it. Flexible enough to accept new things. Now, this is the most interesting part of this presentation. Why? Because, as I said, the audience gets less chance when there is an informative PowerPoint going on or an instructive PowerPoint going on. So this is your chance. So you can read, it's written activity, student introduction. So you might have introduced yourself in semester one, all the subjects, all new teachers. You might have introduced yourself in semester two. Then how can I not give you the opportunity to introduce yourself in semester three? You should not have the regret. We never got the chance to introduce ourselves in semester three. Corona was there. So I don't want any reasons for a pandemic not or a pandemic obstructing you from introducing yourself. That's the most fun part of the lectures, introducing over and over. Madam, how many times? We did it in semester one. We just did it before this lecture. Right? So by now your teachers who have been teaching you regularly know you. I just know you by your names on the attendance sheet. Right? So we've been interacting for almost a month now. We just know each other by names. So what do I want you to do? I don't want to know your results of semester 1 and 2. I don't want to know from which school you did your 12th. I really don't want to know what are your percentages or your marks. So what do I want to know? I want to know from you your name. Madam, that you know, every day you are taking attendance. But I don't want to know only your name. I want to know your name along with an adjective that defines who you are. Plus, the adjective should start with the first letter of your name. Let's say your letter starts with your name starts with the letter M. So you can say I am mischievous and then your name. Your name starts with the letter S. So I am skillful and then your name. Right? Something like that. An adjective that describes who you are. Just a few minutes back, I said I don't want to know your studies. Yes, I don't want to know you are the future computer engineers. I want to know what interests you in your study. What is that particular part of your education that you are interested in? Let's say, madam, I love solving problems, and engineering is all about solving problems. Or, I want to tell you a secret. I don't like anything about engineering, but computers fascinate me. I love computers. I love designing. I love colors. So maybe I'm thinking of pursuing a career in web designing. So, what is that part of the study that you are doing fascinates you? Or what is that portion of your education that you love? Let's say, ma'am, I'm doing computer engineering, but I love chemistry, all those experiments. So, I'm thinking of having some experiments with computer engineering. I don't know what right now, but something. Now, I love to experiment. Right? Something like that in your studies. And your hobbies. What is that you do in your leisure time? What is it that you pursue? Like, let's say some of us would be fascinated with watching web series. I cannot give it up. Okay, every day I say I'll stop myself after one episode, but it's so interesting. So I have to watch two, three, or maybe when I read books, I'm lost in my own world. Okay, I cannot stop reading until and unless I come to a point. I have to finish it. Right. So what are your hobbies? So you have to introduce yourself, keeping these 4 points in mind: your name, an adjective that describes you, and also starts with the same letter as that of your name, studies, the portion in your education that interests you a lot, and then your hobbies. Right? I'm giving you 5 minutes of time to prepare. We might have never thought about ourselves and what kind of adjective would describe who you are. So I'm giving you 5 minutes of preparation time, and then we'll go roll number wise. Okay, I'll not be calling out everybody's name. You know who comes after whom, right? So we'll keep it a little autonomous, autopilot mode, right? So whoever source name is first over here, I think it is Poojan 102, right? That's how I know the people, right? So whosoever's name is first in the lab, and then we'll continue. In case that person is not has not joined today's session, you may always go to the next person. I'll not be instructing in between, right? So 5 minutes of time. Let's take 7 minutes of time. So 10:10. We'll start with the introductions with the first enrollment number for this lab, right? So 7 minutes of time given for preparation. In case you are not clear, you may always ask. I hope we are ready now and we can start. Shall we start or do we need some more time? I'm asking a question with a question mark at the end. Shall we start or do we need more time? Okay, thank you. Shall we have the first person?
Yes, good morning, ma'am, and good morning, everyone. I like to call myself versatile Vartaka for some reason. Uh, I have taken computer engineering because coding really interests me, and I feel like I'd like to learn more about it, and I really enjoy reading.
Thank you. Shall we have the next person?
Hello everyone. Nice and nifty Meishargi. I took engineering as logical things involves. I have great interest in logical things and I have great interest in drawing.
Thank you, Naisar. I'm waiting for the next person to start. Is there some problem? Somebody does not want to introduce or something? It should be Himali next according to the enrollment number. Um, See, you are free citizens of a free and democratic country. So you may talk. You have the right to speech. Is there a problem that's occurring and we do not want to talk about it? You don't want to introduce yourself? Does it sound as if I'm not asking a question and I'm making a statement?
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yes.
My name is Shubham Goswami. I am from Rajkot. I am 18 years old. I have completed 12th science in 2019 and pursued computer engineering in Marwadi University.
Okay.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Kevin. I am studying in computer engineering and I interested in watching motivational speech.
Okay.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Keyur. I study in computer engineering because I like coding and more about computer and I interest in playing cricket.
Great. Excellent.
Hello everyone, I am Subham Gatia. I like computer. I am studying for computer engineering because like web development and I hobbies are playing cricket.
Okay.
Hello everyone, I am Youthful Yash. I like to play with computer, that's why I take in computer engineering and interested in watching web series. Thank you.
Excellent. So anybody else left? Or we've completed with everybody in the batch?
No, I'm left.
Yes.
Hello everyone. My name is Nihil, and I took computer engineering because I wanted to get a job in Valve, which is a company I like, and uh, I like to play and watch football.
Great. That's it. We're done. Fine. In case anybody still wants to, you can let me know. I'll move ahead with what we have in our presentation. So help us to make presentation better. Wherever you are making a note, kindly make a note that this is a very important question. The way you have 7 C's of letter writing or 7 C's of a good letter, similarly, you have 6 great helpers. There are 6 great helpers to make your presentation more uh, attractive, more informative, and more precise. So, this is an important question, keeping in mind examination. So, which are the 6 great helpers? Let me tell you a small secret. The 6 great helpers are nothing but the WH questions. The 6 great helpers are nothing but the WH questions. Why, who, where, when, what, and how. Now, remember over here, it is okay if you do not follow the chronology. So, I have arranged it in a way where I feel that it's easier to remember and according to the importance or the role they play in presentation, I have arranged it in that way. In case you do not follow the sequence when you write the answer, that would be absolutely fine here because each element or each great helper is on its own. They're not a stepwise connection. They are connected but not stepwise. So it is fine if you reorder them according to the way you remember. So let's see why. Why what the 6 great helpers signify. So first thing is why. Remember, wherever we are talking about workplace situations or business situations, we have always tried to address this question first. What is the purpose? Why are we doing this presentation, right? Because as I said, this why lays the foundation to build the presentation. Second, you need to know who is the audience. You can select your material according to how you know your audience. Next, you should know the where part. or the locale. The locale is actually the jargon here. Simply it means the venue. Where are you doing it? Next, you should know the time. Why should you know the time? Let's say if it is a morning session, things are quite fresh, the audience is fresh, and things would go well. Let's say if it is a after lunch session, and what happens is it might be the case that the audience might feel sleepy, the audience might not show as much interest as they would have shown if it is in the morning. So what do you do at that time? So you already know from beforehand when you are arranging it, right? So if you know it beforehand, you can work something out to make your presentation better. You can actually try out and have a, let's say, maybe you can have a small little video, some interesting activities that take place along with you teaching and presenting, etc. Then you should know what kind of content are you going to use, what are the things that you are going to say. Remember, with one click Google will give you results and links to several websites. You cannot have everything in your presentation. Remember, right? Whenever we have talked about things like meetings letters, it is limited to some amount or to some extent. You cannot write unlimited things, or you cannot have meeting for unlimited number of hours. Similarly, when you have a presentation, you have limited the time, 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hour, whatever it is. So when you limit the time, you also have to limit the content. You cannot have unlimited content. So you have to pick and choose, tailor according to the need. And lastly, how. Now here you might have a query that, madam, why do we need to know the how part? You already know it's a PowerPoint, right? There's nothing new into it. No. Those of you who have introduced yourself to me, or we were able to get introduced, you actually have not only introduced, but you have also presented yourself. Remember, presentation is not equal to PowerPoint. PowerPoint is a part of presentation, but it is not the synonym of presentation. Remember, in the definition of presentation skills, we have written it is a speech-based method of communicating. PowerPoint surely helps, but that's not presentation in itself. So why the how part? Are you using a PowerPoint? Within the PowerPoint, are you using diagrams, pictures? Are you using a video? Are you using audio? Now, will you only be playing the PowerPoint, or you will be talking in between? Will you be using the blackboard? Will be using some pictures, chart paper? What? What will you be using? How will you be presenting your ideas? Right? I cannot, let's say I want to talk something in science. I cannot be drawing diagrams for one whole hour and then within 5 minutes I say this is it. And I have to plan it out. How am I doing it? First I'll talk about things. Then by the time I draw a diagram on the blackboard, I'll ask them to watch a video. So the how part, how will your presentation go? So we have a reconnecting question over here. Can you name the 6 great helpers that make presentation more effective? I'll give you a hint. I told you simply to remember that the 6 great helpers are the WH questions. The 6 great helpers are the WH questions. So can you tell me which are the 6 great helpers? Excellent. You've remembered it well. Got correct answers. You're absolutely correct. As I said, no need to maintain the chronology. If you maintain, good. If you do not maintain, that's fine. So the why, who, where, when, what, and how. These are the 6 great helpers in presentation. Kindly mark that. Kindly mark it as one of the important questions from the exam point of view. If it is a 1 mark question, you will just have to list out. If it is more marks, then you have to explain. Right? Audience analysis. This is also one of the important short notes from the exam point of view. Short notes. How do you know who your audience is? How do you analyze the audience? Right? Why is audience analysis important in presentation? Could be some of the questions that can be asked. So please mark this as an important question. Let's say the way we had questions guiding us for our book review, you over here have questions guiding you to analyze the audience. How can you analyze the audience? So the first question that you can look around is, what are their interests, likes and dislikes? What are the interests, likes and dislikes of the audience? So how do I know? I interact with them. I have an analysis, or I can make assumptions based on the age range of the group. You see, there's a question which says, what is the age range? Now, why should I know about the interest, likes and dislikes? I should know about the interest, likes and dislikes because, as you know, whatever documentation we are doing, whether oral or written, right? It is meant to be the audience. It is meant for the audience. So the audience is at the center. If the audience is not interested, then what will happen is the entire activity will turn into a failure, a wastage of time, resources, and energy. Right? Let's say I talk about something which is interesting to the audience. They love it. Why? Because it interests you. Secondly, you should know whether the audience is familiar with the topic or not. Let's say in your introduction, a few of you mentioned that you love cricket. That's a sports, right? You love sports, to be generalizing. Now, if I know that the audience likes to know about sports, I should be giving examples similar, or I should be giving examples from sports so that I can have their due attention. What if I start talking about dancing? Most of us, okay, here again, some of you would tell me, Madam, we love to see dance shows. That's fine with us. You give an example from dancing. What if I start giving examples from the medical field without explaining? Let's say, I'll tell you that there is a medicine which is called Trica. That's the name of the medicine, and you cannot take that medicine without a doctor's prescription. You know, the pharmacies do not sell you that medicine without a proper prescription from a doctor. That medicine is very hazardous. If you take in a huge quantity, you know, it may lead to danger of life. You know, that's why without proper prescription from a doctor, you cannot buy that medicine. What is that medicine meant for? Why would a doctor prescribe a medicine which, if taken in excessive, can cause danger to life? Why would the doctor do it? Right? If audience like asks me a question like that, I would answer that, you know, that medicine is meant for people who suffer from a disease called insomnia. Now, what is now we what will happen here is, if you are not familiar with the topic, even though if I'm giving you the simplest examples, you'll not be able to connect. What will you think if you do not know? You'll say, first, we did not know what Trica is. Secondly, now she's got a new term which is called insomnia. What to do? Now, simply, if I tell you that what I'm talking about is, I'm talking about people who suffer from sleeplessness, that is, they cannot sleep properly. They have They suffer from a disease where it does not let them sleep. And Trika, in simpler terms, is a sleeping pill. It's the name of a sleeping pill. A pill that helps or sedates you and you can go to sleep. Now it has become little simpler. It does not sound that complicated. Why is it sounding complicated to you? Because we are not familiar with the topic. With a bunch of would-be doctors or students of medicine, if I use the same words, they might not find it complicated. Yes, there if I tell them, you have to have circuits, you have to have connections, and you have to have ports, and things will be doing this, that, then they would have a confusion. So, is the audience familiar with the topic? Now, here we would always consider the lowest level. Step number 1. Let's say I know most of you have made PowerPoints, most of you have done presentations, you have worked on it. But still, I begin whenever I start a session, like most of you had written letters, you have been exposed to different parts of it, which means you do not have your knowledge of the topic is not zero. But I'm considering the knowledge of the topic to be below 25. And I start from what is a letter, how do you write a letter, have you ever written letters? Do I not know that when you have come to a level of education where you already written end number of letters, numerous letters during the period, you also attempted questions from numerous letter writing portions in exam, you have scored good marks. It itself proves that you have been doing it. But why do I consider the knowledge level for the particular topic below 25? Because I want to brush it up. Remember, at times, at home also it happens. Your mom would never remember. You'll tell her, that sari, beautiful sari we bought for your birthday in 2018. That sari that you want to my cousin's wedding, which was in February. The color is somewhere between pink and magenta. It's not pink, it's not purple. Remember? What are you trying to do? Does not your mother know the clothes she has? She does. You're trying to brush up, trying to go to that exit part so that the person does not have to make 2 3 guesses for it, and it's as if the person, or as if you have achieved your goal in one go, right? Similarly, you have to consider when you have presentations the knowledge of the audience to be below 25 out of 100. Okay, we're talking out of 100, so less than 25 percentage of people understand. In that case, what happens is, let's say, uh, out of 100 only 10 or 12 people know the balance, it's an imbalance. So you have to start from there, you have to familiarize the people. Now, what is the attitude of the audience? Is it hostile or is it friendly? Is the audience friendly? How do you keep such topics there? The age range of the group, let's say, I'll give you a very simple example over here. I want to talk about some Shakespearean work. Shakespeare has written great dramas, and I want to talk about one of his great dramas, one of the greatest tragedies that he has written, called Hamlet. Madam Hamlet, are you going to talk to us about the modern version? That is English from today or English from Shakespeare's time? In your case, your age range, if I talk about even words from Shakespeare's time and I translate alongside, so I tell you this is the old English, this is the new one, this is what it actually means, it would work. If I go to an age range of smaller kids, when I say smaller kids, people somewhere around 12 years of age, 10 to 12 years of age, standard 5, 1 to 5, if I'm talking, I cannot be teaching them Hamlet in the way I teach it to you, or I cannot be taking the textbook. There, what I have to do, I have to change my strategy. I'll be talking about Hamlet, but I'll be talking through an animation movie that most of them would have seen or have heard about. So I'll be talking about the Disney classic, which is called The Lion King. Now they'll be very happy to listen to what I have to say. They are not happy when I read books. They'll be more happy if I talk to them about The Lion King. Right? That is why you need to know the age range. According to the age range, you can have your examples. According to the age range, you can make modifications in the same topic. And you also need to know the size of the group. Let's say we did our introductory activity in the laboratory where we have 120 minutes. Right? So 15-20 minutes we can spare for introduction. I cannot do the same activity in the lecture session. Why? The time is limited to 60 minutes. There are 54 people in the class. If one person takes even 1 minute, 54 minutes are gone, and then I have only 4-5 minutes for attendance. So was the lecture, the entire thing, the entire presentation, was it just meant for introducing? No. I had to have to discuss a topic as well. So in that case, what do? We can change the question. I want to know what are the hobbies of the class. So what I would suggested, I would draft 5 questions, 5 major hobbies that people can have. Let's say one, you are interested in sports, all kind of sports, indoor, outdoor. How many of you? Okay, 10 people. So now I have 44 left. Then I can say people who are interested in reading any kind of things, newspaper, books, magazines, general knowledge books, history books, etc. So another 10-12 people. I can say people who love to listen to music, almost everyone. Then I can ask, let's say, people who are interested in watching television or mobile or things on the mobile phone. Let's say an motivational video, an interactive video, web series, movies, etc., etc. We have a bunch of people. I just came to know the hobbies of the class by doing something which has not a one-to-one thing, but a bunch of people move into one part. So you can divide it into bunches of people. Right? The same activity of introduction, but in a different way, depending on the size, because you don't want one activity to occupy your entire presentation. The locale, as I said, the venue. You should know the venue well and well in advance. Why? Every locale has its own physical environment and it is unique. I'll give you a very, very simple example. If you take any classroom location of the second floor, let's say MA201 and MA202, both are on the same floor, both are classrooms, but both of them have their own physical, unique environment. So 201 is a corner class, it is little rounded in shape, whereas 202 would be a little rectangular, square kind of a class. The air circulation in 201 would be quite better because you have opposite side windows and big windows, whereas 202 might not have that much airy space because of it having one sided window and the other window being a little small. Just examples. So I'm trying to tell you that even in the same building, same floor, 2 adjacent classrooms would have a different physical environment, each unique to itself. When you have larger rooms and shorter conference rooms also, on the same floor you might have your laboratory as well. So why do I need to know? What are the requirements that I have for my presentation? Is the location be fitting? Let's say I want you to do a computer related coding. Can I do it in 201? Yes, I can. If everybody brings along a laptop, if everybody can have internet connection, etc., etc. But if I do it in lab number 10, would it be better? Yes, of course, because it is self-equipped. Nobody has the excuse, madam, I don't have a computer. Madam, I have a computer, no internet connection. I don't have that specific software. I don't have that specific application. The hurdles, see, it is important to understand that nothing is impossible. The word itself says I am possible, right? If you tone it that way. So we can do the same things in the lecture rooms that are allocated. But when you go into the labs, it has a specific building or the build up. The lab is built up in a specific way to provide you a specific thing. That is why it is easier to pursue such things in the laboratory than in the lecture sessions or the lecture rooms, right? So why do you need to know the locale or the venue beforehand? so that you have an idea about how people will be sitting. If you want to do an activity, how will you do it? If you need to if you need to connect your laptop to the projector, is the projector working? Where the switches, where the plugs? Do I need an extra extension plug to switch on, switch off? Right? These things you have to know beforehand. If you do not know beforehand, what will happen is it will create a chaos at the time of your presentation. And at the time of presentation, if you have things in a chaotic condition, your presentation obviously does not go good. So these two things, if you know, that is the audience and the locale, half your battle is won. Right? You can modify things according to your need. You may ask for another location, etc. If you know if you know the location beforehand. Please mark this as an important question. The 4 P's of presentation, or the steps for preparing presentation. Remember, here we are not only talking about PowerPoint, we are talking about different things. So this is a very important question, and here you can see it is a stepwise arrangement. So here you cannot change the chronology. The chronology needs to be maintained. So the first step in preparing a presentation is planning. In planning, what will you involve? You will involve this many things. One, what topic are you going to do? Which day, which time, which date, where? The helpers. Remember? So first you will have to use the helpers to plan your presentation. You have to bind it by the boundary. Let's say I'll give you the example of our lectures. Why? Because I can show you how it's bound. The lecture starting dates or the academic year starting dates have been given by GTU. They have bound it. You have to start somewhere around this date. We already have a syllabus, so the topics are bound. This much, this many units. Now within the units also we have to bind it. Now let me give an example from what we have done in unit 1. We have talked about kinesics. We talked about hand movements. We talked about eye movements, postures, gestures, etc. We talked about facial expression. Now what we did is we talked, we are not going, you are not going to study that in detail. You just have to know the things on the surface. I did not tell you that your face would have 5 to 6 5 expressions, the 5 steady expressions, and there are 33 blends, which means there are 33 mixtures. I'll give you a very simple example here for you to understand. Usually when tears come down your eyes, usually when you are crying or tears come out of your eyes, it means that you are sad. But sometimes when you are overwhelmed and you are very happy, then also tears come down your eyes. They are called tears of joy. That's the blend. Okay, so that we did not go into that much detail because it was not required. So in the planning portion, you plan everything, the before part, the during part, the after part. Then you actually sit to prepare. Now when you are prepared, many things again would be tailored. Whatever you have planned might not be included in the preparation part, or might not at all have a space in the presentation. So you actually prepare it, you do the actual work. Then you practice. You work on it. Okay, this is how I will do, this is how I will do. And then finally you present. Just the way in the process of communication, without the feedback, the process is incomplete. Similarly, without presenting, the first 3 steps remain incomplete. However well you have prepared, however well you have practiced, if you do not actually do the presentation, all of that is futile. So can you please arrange it in the proper sequence? Remember, over here you cannot alter the chronology or you cannot change the sequence. So what would be the sequence over here? Excellent, Yash. Quick answer and correct. Yash is actually correct. We plan, we prepare, we practice, and we present. Please mark this as an important question, important short note for the exam point of view. Now, the structure of the presentation. Remember, anything which is related to workplace would have its unit structure. So, what would be the structure of a presentation? The structure of a presentation is that it begins with an introduction, is having a main body and the conclusion. Now, what will you include in the introduction? Please remember this technical term which is called the porch. You might have heard the porch of a house. That's actually just before the entrance. You have a small raised platform kind of a thing, and you can enter your house from there. The porch. Similarly, the porch in the introduction is that interesting anecdote, or is that interesting story, is that interesting thing that you tell so that the audience would start paying attention, is actually the porch. That it begins with a greeting. You have greetings there, then you tell a story or you show a picture and you try to connect or take the audience on that beautiful, wonderful uh, journey of your presentation. That beginning part, that initiation part, is called the porch. Remember this. uh, Please remember, as of now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to prepare you in two ways. One, the regular ways in which we are giving examinations, or two, if in case they ask MCQs, if they have an MCQ kind of an examination, what to do in that case, right? So wherever I feel that the words are important, I keep on telling that this is important, please mark it. They might ask it in the MCQ, they might ask it in a one line or one mark question, right? So remember this word jargon, which is called the porch. It is actually the beginning or the initial part of any presentation or any speech that you give. It is actually that greetings part and that interesting fact, figure, story, small video or small picture that you show, uh, from where it all starts. The porch or the introduction actually helps the audience to prepare, to listen to the entire presentation, and it actually is a clear statement of the purpose of the presentation. Now, this is a few advice that you have to do when you start your presentation. One thing, you have to always prepare more material than required. At times, the audience would be smart enough, and you might not be able to cover that 1 hour. You have some more time left. What to do? Now, if you prepare more than required, you will feel more confident. And remember, as I said, you are going to prepare it. So if you skip a few things, the audience will never know that you also had included. They will think that this is what you have thought of for today's presentation. Moreover, when you are to start your presentation, you should always arrange your stuff properly: your laptop, your pins, your plugs, your pen, your mobile phone. Where will you keep? Where will you stand, etc. Relax yourself by taking a couple of deep breaths, drinking a glass of water so your throat is not parched. If you are confident, if you are relaxed, it will help you concentrate more. And the most important point is you should memorize the first few slides or first few things in your presentation. It would be very boring to see somebody on the very first starting, even if they are wishing good morning, they are looking at the presentation. That would not be a good idea. Because you have prepared it, you know how it starts from where it starts, right? Smile. Begin with a smile. When you begin with a smile, it actually gives the audience a warm welcome. It helps the audience to relax, and it also helps you to relax, and you and the audience can connect. Remember, when we are doing kinesics, we said that good presenters maintain a good eye contact. So that this is aptly said over here. A good introduction is actually the vehicle on which you will take your audience on the journey of your presentation. So make sure that your introduction is good. It will actually help as a smooth transitionary phase from your introduction to your main body. So transit in such a way that you do not give people jerks. Main body, it is actually the crux or the main material of the presentation. This is why the presentation is being made. This is why you are doing the presentation. Now, the main body, there are 4 different patterns to organize the information in the main body. Remember, this is not different. Right? This is also an important question. Please mark the 4 different patterns to organize information in the main body of a presentation. Or the same question can be asked as, discuss the patterns in which you can arrange information in a presentation. It is to be understood that this is how they are asking. So which are the 4 main patterns? Chronological, categorical, cause and effect, problem and solution. We have been hearing the word chronological since a long time, since we have begun with communication skills. So what do you mean? Chronological presentations are presentations which have details arranged in a sequence. Let's say the history of an institution. So the institution was established in 2009. So it could be ascending or descending order, whatever is required, but it is in order. You cannot say first talk about 2009, then jump to 2012, then go back to 2010, then come to 2020. Right? When we are talking about a certain things which happen in a sequence, in those kinds of presentations, you have to arrange it in a sequence, date wise, month wise, or year wise, whatever is applicable. Categorical, this is the most used pattern, and right now also we are using the same. And for other subjects where your teachers are using PowerPoint, they're using categorical pattern of arranging the information. Now what is categorical? It comes from the word category. So you have topics and then subtopics arranged accordingly. Right? So let's say any topic of the syllabus, we are having topics and subtopics. Let's say in unit 1 we did kinesics. Did we just talk about it? No, what we did is kinesics. So what is the definition, what is the simple meaning, what is included in kinesics? Let's say facial expression. Now what do I mean by facial expression? That's what I'm talking when I say arrangement in categorical method. Next you have cause and effect. Certain events are there which has a cause and an effect, how it happens and what happens after it happens. Let's say pollution, or let's take the example of pollution, because we can all relate to it. So what is pollution? How does pollution happen? And what are the effects of pollution? Let's say pollution happens with the emission of unwanted gaseous substances in the air. That is air pollution. What happens is there is climatic change, there is depletion in the ozone layer, there is a hole in the ozone layer, the temperature in the atmosphere of the earth rises, the icebergs melt, the north pole and the south pole is melting, which increases the water level in the ocean, etc. It cause and effect. When you have such a topics, you can arrange it in that manner. And the last one is problem solution. Now this kind of a arrangement is helpful when you have a persuasive or you want to persuade people. It actually divides the PPT into 2 parts. The first part describes and analyzes the causes and effect of the problem, and then you follow, it is followed by a solution. Here again we take the example of pollution. So first you will describe how it happens, what happens, and what are the effects. Now when if it is cause effect way, you will just stop there. Now if it is the problem solution, you will move ahead and give a solution. What can we do? So instead of having individual vehicle rides, why not use public transportation, plant more trees, use things that are recyclable, reusable, etc. Right? So these are the 4 patterns to arrange main body of presentation: the chronological pattern, the categorical, which is the most used one, the cause and effect, and the problem solution. Conclusion. We conclude, which means we sum up, we end, or we review what we have done. Never ever introduce any new idea in conclusion, because you are concluding, you are coming to an end, right? Remind the audience of the main points of the presentation. Here it's just a little repetition of what you have done, but in a more concise, precise version. A summed up version is what we would say over here. Remember, presentations or any other documentation, oral or written, in a workplace scenario will always be followed by a feedback session. Presentation is also a mode of communicating. So without feedback, it is incomplete. So always have time and space for question and answers. Remember, your teachers would always ask towards the end of the lecture, did you understand? Does anybody have a doubt? Do we have queries? If somebody has a query, please ask. That's a way of taking feedback. And that's a way of asking whether you understood or not, whether the teacher has been able to deliver the purpose or not. Have you, right? So that portion you should always have space for question and answer, right? It would give a feedback, and every questioner would be given a fair chance to solve or sort out his doubt, his or her doubt. Now, how to make a presentation effective? This is also an important short note. What can I do to make my presentation more effective? So there are three things that you should control. One, you should control yourself. Two, you should control the material. And three, you should control the audience. If you have proper control over these three things, the presentation would automatically become effective. Now, how do you control these three things? So how do you control yourself? Always relax and be calm. Why? Because you have prepared the presentation, you can 100% present it. You know what is written because you have prepared it. That is why teachers urge you not to copy something but prepare on your own. Does not mean you don't take help from resources. By help, you mean that you read the resource, reframe it in your own words so that you can present better. Control over material. We know on the one click, you can have lots and lots of material available. What do? You cannot have everything in the presentation. So you pick and choose. You tailor according to the need. And how do I control the audience? Audience wants something new, something interesting, something engaging. So keep your presentation simple, but interesting and engaging at the same time, so the audience does not lose interest. So which are the three things that one should control to make the presentation more effective? We just now thought of it. Think from inside out, keeping yourself at the center and moving out. You will be able to answer this question easily. And also mark this question as important. Which are the three things you need to control so that your presentation becomes excellent? Excellent, Aditi. Quick answer. Yourself, the material, and the audience. These are the three things that you have to keep in control. Actually, it's very simple. These are the three things which are directly related to your presentation. If you control the direct things, the indirect things will take care of themselves, right? You all are absolutely correct. You have to have control over yourself, you have to have control over the material, and you have to have control over the audience. Now, one last thing. You said, you asked the teacher, ma'am, you said that you have space for question answer, but sometimes people ask such questions, what to do? How can we deal with questions? So one simple answer would be, when you are preparing for your presentation, you should also keep in mind a list of questions that the audience may ask, a list of probable questions. And you should be prepared in case somebody asks me this question, what would the answer be? If they don't ask, well and good. If they do ask, again, it is well and good. You know the answer, you are prepared for it. Fine. This step, madam, we are clear. What if somebody asks an unexpected question? What do we do? It might happen, sometimes you don't expect. At that time, do not lose your confidence. Remember one thing, you can always answer by saying that, see, this presentation covers this much. The topic or the question that you have asked is excellent. That has not been covered in the presentation that we are making. I'll surely get back to you with your answer, maybe next day or when we are in touch. I'll be in touch with you for the answer. But right now we are addressing these issues which are mentioned in the PowerPoint. But this trick you cannot use all the time. You cannot use the trick all the time. What you can do is you can take some time of thinking. You can say, excellent idea. You have been paying good attention. Has anybody else in the audience noticed this thing? Somebody might have, somebody might not have. Nobody noticed. Wonderful. You are such a attention paying audience. I would appreciate your attention. Let's go back to some things or some slides. And then you can tell, see, this is what I have covered roughly. And this I think falls beyond. And if you are still interested, we can talk after the presentation. Whenever somebody asks the question, please listen to it carefully. Don't rush to answer the question. Think before you speak. Your answer should not contradict with your presentation. So, how do I deal with questions? Is there some way, some method, some technique? Yes, there is. You can also mark this as an important question. This unit is very important. The weightage, if you see in the syllabus, you might be thinking after every 2 slides, madam is saying this is very important. Right? If the reason is, if you look at the syllabus, unit number 2 and unit number 3 almost cover 45 percentage weightage in terms of exam. So that's why more important questions from here. Right? So do not worry, I have a track of things. Right? You might be thinking she's forgetting and she's telling everywhere it is important. It's not like that, right? So I'm keeping a track of things. It is having 45 percentage weightage in examination. So this is one of the important questions. What is the track technique? The very first thing when somebody asks a question, you should thank the questioner. You should say thank you to the questioner. Then you should be repeating the question. Sometimes the other people are not paying that much attention and they don't know what the question is. So you repeat the question again so that the rest of the audience comes to know what is being asked. Then you answer the question. So when you're thinking and you are repeating, you have actually given yourself some mental time, 2-3 minutes of time to think for the answer. Think for the answer, then you answer the question. Then C in the tract stands for check with the questioner. So now I think I have resolved your query to some extent. And that's how you check with the questioner, and then you thank the questioner again. That's the tract technique. As we already know, unit 2 and 3, unit number 2 and 3 are more practical based. So how do we use this presentation? You need to prepare a presentation on your book review assignment. You need to prepare a presentation on your book review assignment. Now this we can discuss in detail after we attempt for the quiz. I'll be talking to you about it. There are a few resources that you can use. See, this is not limited to, but these are a few good resources that you can refer to while you make your presentation. These resources will help you prepare your presentation better. Do we have any question answers apart from the question on how to prepare your book review presentation? That I'll be discussing after I take the question answer for presentation strategies. So before we move on and discuss our assignment or preparation of presentation on our assignment, let's first attempt the quiz, and then we can have time to talk about our assignment. So just give me a minute. I'll give you the link for today's quiz.
Hello? Hello, ma'am?
Yeah, I have not shared the link yet. I am sharing the link right now. There you go. This is the link for today's presentation quiz. I've shared the link again. Now you can start attempting your quiz. Excellent work. All of you have submitted your quiz for the today. Now let's talk about the assignment part. There are 2-3 things or information that I want to share with you right now. So first things first, and then we'll discuss the review part. So first thing, many of you have been asking me, ma'am, where do we submit our Coursera certificate? So what I have done is, again, in the shared Google folder. Now if you open your Google folder, you will see a tab which says Coursera certificate. Now you click over there. Inside you will find a tab with your name, because there would be 3 certificates. I suggest, that's why I've made tabs with your names. You have to upload your certificates over there in case you have completed the Coursera course. In case you are in a process to complete it, then kindly complete it at the earliest and you can submit the certificates. 1. 2, I have already uploaded the different types of letters that you need to write. So kindly have a look at it and keep on writing the letters. This works is supposed to keep on going on at the background while we continue with regular lab sessions in the lab session which are allocated to us. Because it is a part of a practice thing. You have to practice. The more you practice, the better you become. Right? So keep on practicing. You have a doubt, you please get back to me. Now book review. I hope these 2 things are clear. I'll now move on to book review. I hope almost every one of you have started reading the books and you are working on it, because from every lab batch I have been asked that we want to have some more time, not the first or the second week. So let's do one thing. I'm giving you 15 days more. I hope that should be more than enough. I'm giving you 15 days more for your book review, because you are now also supposed to prepare a presentation. We'll start the book review in the week of 17th August. So in between 17th August and 23rd August, your book review assignment submission would be there. I'll prepare a detailed schedule. Why a detailed schedule? Everybody's chance should come one after the other, right? So who starts, who ends, how much time do you have for your presentation, etc. is what I'll prepare a schedule and I'll circulate in a few days, 1 or 2 days. But you have time to prepare your book review as well as your PowerPoint presentation for the book review. I'm giving you 15 days of time. Today is the 31st, so I'm starting somewhere around the 17th, after the 17th, and book reviews are to be done in the lab session itself. Now after I prepare the schedule, in case you have a genuine problem, let's say for example, for some reason you won't be able to attend that particular session where your book review is scheduled, kindly inform me beforehand. Kindly inform me beforehand. I understand the severity of the situation. You might fall sick or something happens. That is, sudden things would happen. That is something different. But if there is something scheduled, inform me beforehand. That is, inform me 1 week before the scheduled day, so that I can change the schedule and give you some other day or date. Right? I can make appropriate arrangements. So yes, we have to make the presentation of the book review. In the initial stages only, I had told that you don't have to write it, you also have to talk about it in the class. Now because we're not expecting you to be on the campus, so we cannot be talking only virtually. What happens is, if there is a PPT, it would help the audience as well. So remember, now I'm giving you the guidelines for the PPT. You can make a note somewhere or you can take a mental note. The PPT should be of minimum 5 slides and a maximum of 10, not more than 10, including your name slide and the thank you slide. Now, why 5 slides? 5 pages already we are writing with respect to writing the review. Remember, this is a presentation, not a Word document or a Google document. So you cannot, let's say you are having page number 3 or slide number 3 should be the summary of the book. You cannot write the entire paragraph over there. Remember, PowerPoint has something called bullet points. And we know that names are given to people so that they reflect similar characteristics. So what is the characteristic of a bullet? It hits the target. It's to the point, to the target. Similarly, when you're writing the summary, you cannot have the entire paragraph, you can have a few points. Also remember, you are not reading the PowerPoint, you are supposed to present the PowerPoint. Reading is different, presenting is different. Let's say I had reviewed, as a sample, I had reviewed the book Wings of Fire by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Now, if I'm supposed to prepare a PowerPoint, what will I do? We all know him by the name Kalam, Dr. Kalam or Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So what would be interesting? It would be interesting to tell the audience his full name. So what I can do is I can write his full name on the, I can write Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam on the PowerPoint and I can talk about his full name. I can say his full name was Avul Pakir Jainul Abdin Abdul Kalam. That was his full name. Right? So that I should not include in the PPT, that I should be speaking. That's why planning. Remember the 4 P's, planning. You have to plan what to put on the screen and what you should keep with yourself to speak. So your PPT could also include the cover page of the book because we are handwriting our assignment. We do not have the scope. Everybody might not be that artistic enough to draw the cover page. Right? So what you can do is you can have a little picture of the cover page of the book there and you can explain as well. Let's say I'll talk about Wings of Fire because I've reviewed it, right? So Wings of Fire, the cover page is Dr. Abdul Kalam. Sir, Dr. Abdul Kalam, but not of his young days, but a little elderly picture of him. So are they going to talk about the story or the autobiography of an old man? Remember, an old man, a man who has grown not in years but in experience as well. That reflects, if you see his face, it is very calm, peaceful, very positive vibes you get when you see the picture. So you can talk about the cover page as well. Books, cover pages are there, pictures on the books are there for some reason. Now, the same book by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam also has an abridged student special version. Originally, the book is of 300 pages. The student version is a 1/3 of it. So 120, 125 pages. Now, if you take that book, there the cover page is of bright orange color. Very bright. Just like the sun. So what does that cover page reflect? That cover page reflects that young minds have the energy of the sun. They cannot only just energize themselves, they can emit energy to others. So Abdul Kalam was one such person who had the power to emit his energies. So can you as the student. Right? That's what that cover page would indicate. And now coming to the suggestions that you have been making, I would come to that part as well. I'm just trying to explain. Instead of just reading what I put up as a sample, you can explore it in your own ways. I will surely be putting up a sample. You already have a tab in your lab batch folder, that you already have a tab which is called the book review, where we had uploaded an Excel sheet where you had to write the name of the book against your name. Kindly go back to that sheet and make sure that you have written the correct name. In 1 or 2 days, let's say latest by Tuesday, give me some time. I'm working on it. I'll be also uploading a sample of the book review, a PowerPoint sample of the book review. I'll be uploading for the Wings of Fire by Abdul Kalam because that's the book that I have reviewed for you. So we can have a connection in the book review and the PowerPoint. Remember a few things that I'm mentioning right now. Yeah, you have to submit a photo, convert the photograph into a PDF and upload it again in the book review tab. Within the book review tab, you will also have tabs with your name and enrollment number. Why? Because you are supposed to upload their book review as well as the presentation for the book review over there so that it can be stored. I would suggest you upload it a little earlier in the Google Drive. Why? So that if there are mistakes, uh, if there are any suggestions that I wish to give, I can give you the suggestions and you can work on it and improvise your PowerPoint before the actual presentation takes place. Right. So where was I? Yeah, the PowerPoint. So if you see, I've been using a typical format for our lecture sessions because it has been provided by the university. You can either make use of that or you can make use of any other format or layout that is available in Microsoft PowerPoint. You already have things there, but just make sure that the audience pays attention not on the colors and the designs of your PowerPoint layout, but on what you are saying. Right? Remember, the audience is supposed to listen. Now, also recollect that the audience will be given a chance to ask you questions. Do not fear that part. Remember, in the presentation, we said we have to have space for question and answers. Right? So you should have things in mind where people will be asking you questions. You should be prepared to answer those questions. Remember, we always fear that, some of my friends are very mischievous, madam. They will surely ask some question not related to the PPT. Do not worry, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, whenever you will be presenting, I'll be also virtually present. If we find that the question is irrelevant, which is not related to the discussion that you have done in your PowerPoint, you are not supposed to answer such questions. I will moderate which questions you are supposed to answer. I hope I'm making myself clear. Do not worry about the question answer section of your presentation. Why? Because I will be there to moderate whether the question is appropriately asked or not. In case I find that the question has nothing to do with your presentation, that question will not be addressed. You are not supposed to answer such questions. Instead, what I'll do is, on behalf of that student, I'll reframe the question and I'll ask the question to you. I hope I'm making myself clear. Do not worry about the question answer section. Does not have to do anything whether you are very knowledgeable or not. Questions should be asked from the PowerPoint itself. So what I can ask is, apart from, see, you have written, you were very much inspired by Abdul Kalam becoming a scientist. Is this the only incident which inspires you, or there are some other incidences in the book as well? So then I'll say, no, there is this very beautiful incident where, he got the chance to go to NASA and get training for 6 months. Now, when he went to NASA, actually in the lobby of the NASA, he saw a very beautiful portrait. On observing from near, he came to know that it is the portrait of Tipu Sultan, and a war in which Tipu Sultan was participating. And Kalam was fascinated. These people are appreciating things from India. That also fascinates me about the book, that incident which Kalam mentioned. Something like that would be the answer. Right? So, people who are going to ask the question, see, because he's my friend, I will not ask a question, madam. Jane do na. Why do we want to ask? Let it be. No. If you are truly somebody's friend, do ask a question in the book review. Why? You're trying to help your friend perform better. We're trying to give your friend a chance to see how to answer questions, practically how to answer a question if somebody asks you a genuine question in your presentation. If you are not asking a question, it means you're not helping your friend anyway. He or she will never have the experience of answering the questions. This is actually a chance for you to practice what I have taught you in the theory session. Practice the tract technique, practice the answering technique. You can practically use it. Remember, I'll give you a very simple example from cooking. Food. When you see any cookery show, they'll say, Namak swad anusar. Salt according to taste. What is according to taste over here? Until and unless I don't taste it, I'll not know how much salt to put. and everybody's taste differs. Everybody's way of answering the question differs. Everybody's thinking pattern is different. How will I know if I don't hear the person answer it? How will I know if I don't answer the question? That is why it's important to answer the questions. If nobody asks the questions, then I am there. I would be asking at least one question so that you have an experience of using the track technique. Right? So you remember using the track technique over here. So give me maybe by Tuesday, you'll have a sample there. In the book review, you'll also have tabs of your name in the book review tab itself. The sub tabs will be there and you can upload things there. And in case if you still have doubts, queries, you can always connect to me via email or by mobile. I'll take the attendance for the day. So 102, 103, 106, 108, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 125, 126, 131, 134, and 144. Absent numbers for today are 125, 126, 134. Aditi, I saw her answer a question, so I marked her present in case there is an issue. So this is what we are supposed to do. I'll be sharing the schedule and the sample of a book review in a few days time, 2-3 days time, and you can see the Google Drive where it has been shared. You have time till the 15th of August 2020 to submit your book review and the presentation to your book review. Fine. In case of any doubts, queries, or questions, you can reach out to me. Thank you, class. Have a very nice day.